25 drivers, 16 nationalities, 3 champions, 1 world champion. Road to Indy TV.
So that's what it looks like in the cockpit. What does it look like if you're out on the racetrack? We've got 2 really good turn announcers out here to call the action. Michael Young, you are positioned high above turn number 6, where I know you can see, good Lord, about half the racetrack here at Portland International.
Yeah, most of Portland as well. A beautiful vantage point as the pace car starts to make its turns around the circuit. I can see basically the exit of turn number 3, Nick, when the field makes their way down this front straightaway. Actually, I'm looking back to the front of the grid right now. We can actually have a glimpse of the field there in turn number 2. They'll come out of turn number 2 into turn number 3. That's that right-hander. Then they'll hit turn number 4. Basically, turn number 4 and turn number 5 are very tight, complex corners. They start at 4 is a little bit sweeping. Then it's a really hard right-hander in turn number 5. Both 4 and 5 are right-handed turns. And then they'll come to this turn number 6, and that will be a left-handed turn. You've got gator strips to the outside and inside, tire barriers to the outside for these drivers, lined with tires. There, Rinus VK, our pole sitter, going by me. Oliver Askew hitting the brakes, trying to work some heat into those Cooper tires. After they sweep out of that left-hander at turn number 6, they'll make their way into the view of our very own Dave First. Dave, what a beautiful day here in Portland International.
Michael, it absolutely is. Good afternoon. They leave your area, and then it really almost becomes even more technical, if you will. A little bit of a straightaway, not too long before that right-hander, almost a 90-degree into turn number 7. You can hear the field going by me now. After turn 7, they run up to a couple little kinks. One little bend to the left, the other a little bend to the right. Getting a really good exit is the key here, this portion of the road course. That takes them really to the entrance of turn 8. It's a long 2,100-foot backstretch, turtle back in nature, meaning a gradual bend to the right the entire way. Nothing straight about this back straight, but you got concrete walls to drivers right, Armco barriers to drivers left. It's all a big setup eventually to turn 9 and a possible passing zone, really depending on push to pass here in Indy Lights. Love coming to the Northwest. Can't wait to see how race number 1 plays out this afternoon. Nick Yeoman here at Portland International.
The field of 8 seeing 1 to go at the line, and we can see the grandstands down by the festival corners of 1, 2, and 3, which we'll call on this opening lap, filling up as fans excited to see NTT P1 qualifying a little bit later today. And then, of course, the main event of the weekend, the IndyCar Grand Prix of Portland, with just 2 races to go in that championship. Doubleheader weekend for Indy Lights. Let's welcome in our pit reporter, Dan Rusanowski. He's the radio voice of the San Jose Sharks. And Dan, let's talk a little bit about something you're watching here for this race as we're just about set to go racing.
Well, one of the big stories has been the Juncos team. Ricardo has really had these cars dialed in, and Rinus VK getting on the pole for both of the races in Indy Lights. But how about this? He saved up a fresh set of tires from the qualifying session, so he's starting out on fresh Cooper tires. I think that's another important move in the start of this race. And some of the other things we're looking at. First of all, ambient temperature 81 degrees, track temperature 111. Conditions perfect for what should be a great race 1.
Really looking forward to it, Dan. This points championship has just been phenomenal as the top 2 separated by 52 points. Oliver Askew really, though, over the last month of the season has flexed his muscles and has really looked like a championship contender that's going to race his way into the NTT IndyCar Series. Rob Houghton, you have made your way from pit lane to the booth, just about set to go racing. Turn 1, it's tough. We've seen races throughout the course of this weekend as those drivers barrel their way to turn 1. That right-hander, it's going to be interesting.
The one key thing, and Dan brought it up, Rinus VK's on fresh tires. That's going to be great for the race itself, but how is that going to play out when he gets into turn number 1? Does he have those tires up to temp? Has he scrubbed them off a little bit? Is he going to have the grip he needs when he tries to roll through 1 and 2?
Set to go racing here at Portland International. Rinus VK on the pole. He'll have the inside, the preferred line through turn number 1. Oliver Askew swings wide as they'll go tire to tire and accelerate out of the final corner. Just 4 races remaining in the 2019 season. Both drivers get a nice little jump as they head to the start-finish line. Green flag is waving, and we are racing here at Portland. Rinus VK jumps to the early lead. Big move from Toby Sowery as he goes all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. A little lockup further back. Ryan Norman might have made contact with Lucas Cole or David Malukas, but up front it is Rinus VK. A lot of dust kicked up, Michael, as they race through turn 4.
Boy, there's lots of dust coming out of the exit of turn number 4. That's coming from David Malukas and Ryan Norman to the back of the field. David Malukas falling all the way to the back, but up in front. Rinus VeeKay, a 2-car length advantage over Oliver Askew, who is charging. Then it's Robert McGinnis, Dalton Kellett, Lucas Cole coming from the last row, running 5th. Dave, first one to start to this race.
Really good exit out of turn 6, now into turn 7. VeeKay with about a 3-car length advantage over the points leader, Oliver Askew. Single file further back, McGinnis, Dalton Kellett, and how about Lucas Cole with the move early on?
Fantastic jump, though, Rob, right at the beginning of the race for Rinus VeeKay.
What I thought was very interesting was you could see Oliver Askew kind of pull into the inside, get behind him, try to defend to the inside so he wouldn't get attacked. And then even with that big wide berth from left to right for Rinus VeeKay, Oliver did not make a move. He knows a second place finish will work very well here. Let's get away from the chaos of turn number 1, and then maybe I can chase him down. But otherwise, P2 would be a huge finish still for Oliver Askew.
Big winner at the start of the race. Looked like it was Lucas Cole as he moved up to the 5th position. He's going to lose that, though, as Toby Sowery jumps to the outside and makes the pass. Cole gets heavy on the accelerator. He's trying to fight back, Michael, as they stack up.
At Toby Sowery, now it looks like David Malukas trying to get around Lucas Cole. The two nearly touch at the entrance to turn number 4. Back to the front, it's Rinus VeeKay, Oliver Askew. Right behind him, Robert McGinnis, then Dalton Kellett. Toby Sowery's back in that 5th position, but Malukas is charging on Lucas Cole. That's for 6th.
Bunched up at the rear of the field. Meanwhile, it is all Rinus VeeKay up front. About a 3-car length advantage over Oliver Askew. Make it 10 back to Robert McGinnis. Those first 2 checked out so far today.
Yeah, quite a bit of separation up front, but we're keeping an eye, Rob, on this battle. It's 5th, 6th, and 7th. Excuse me, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Lucas Cole trying to hold off David Malukas and Ryan Norman, who were charging.
And you talked about what happened to Lucas Cole when he tried to get to the inside there, coming out of turn number 2. Sowery went to the inside, got that spot, tried an over-under there, and I think a bit of contact from the rear from Ryan Norman. It looked to me early when we saw the in-car that I think Cole might have just got on the throttle and almost looped it around, but instead it was actually a hit from behind from Ryan Norman.
Here's the battle for the lead, Michael Young. Oliver Askew is close within 2-car lengths.
It's just been a matter of time. Oliver Askew, it just looks like he's been strong since the start of this race, Nick. Only a couple of laps in. Rinus VeeKay will now jump to about a 4-car length advantage. Robert McGinnis right there in that 3rd position. Now Toby Sowery starting to battle for that 4th position with Dalton Kellett. But it's Rinus VeeKay 4-car lengths ahead of Askew.
VeeKay with about a 3-car length advantage, although certainly that collapses a little bit. Under brake now into turn 7 at the exit of 7. Another nice exit for Rinus VeeKay. Further back, Toby Sowery putting a lot of pressure on that 67 machine of Dalton Kellett. He might make a play as they make the exit through turn 8.
He is going to make a play. He's going to jump to the outside. He'll move to driver's left. They'll drag race down to turn 9, and Sowery picks up the spot right behind them. It's David Malukas who gets around Lucas Cole. So some nice maneuvering down the back straightaway as a change for position as Toby Sowery moves into the 4th position. Up front, it's VeeKay, Askew, and McGinnis. Askew takes a look to the inside, tries to outbrake VeeKay into turn number 1. Can't get it done, but he's right there, about a car length or 2 off of our leader as they race out of turn 3.
A couple of great battles as Oliver Askew kicks up a little dust. So does our leader, Rinus VeeKay. That gap still about 4 car lengths. Robert McGinnis hanging tough in that 3rd position, although Robert McGinnis has a handful of that number 27. He's slipping side to side. Rinus VeeKay now 4 car lengths again. Oliver Askew still charging at the exit of 6.
Big check-up, or check-out, I should say, amongst that top 3. VeeKay, Askew, and McGinnis. Sowery has cleared the rest of that pack and now sets his sights perhaps on that final podium position here at Portland.
Rob Howden, we just got a note from race control. Rinus VeeKay just got his last warning for blocking. We saw a replay. It was a pretty big block down to turn 1.
Yeah, he came across big time from left to right. And again, as I said, those fresh tires, right? He needs a couple of laps to get those things cured in where he wants them to be. And now pulling out a little bit here. But it was a big block to the inside. You know, Askew just biding his time, being really patient right now. Again, you said the warnings have come, the warnings are done. Rinus VeeKay is going to hold his spot. And here comes Askew looking to the inside. No.
Boy, he gets the door shut on him, but he is right there. And as those two battle, Michael, it's allowed Robert McGinnis to kind of hang right there, 1.6 seconds back.
And like I said last time by Nick Yeoman, that Robert McGinnis machine, all kinds of handful in turns number 4, a lot cleaner this time through, as Oliver Askew just looks a little bit smoother than Rinus VeeKay through this turn 6 complex. So now Rinus VeeKay still about 4 car lengths ahead of Oliver Askew. Make that 5 day first as they go into 7.
Perhaps it's not a matter of if Askew will get around VeeKay, but but when? He's all over the tire tracks, about a 4 car lengths or so back, another 5 back to Robert McGinnis. Meanwhile, it is Toby Sowery running in fourth. Kellett, Malukas, Cole Norman rounds out the field.
Yeah, the battle for the lead is really good as the front three have separated just a bit. Behind them, though, they are absolutely all over each other as Lucas Cole follows David Malukas into the final couple corners with Ryan Norman right there. Back on the front straightaway. The advantage for Rinus VeeKay looks to be about 4 or 5 car lengths as they make their way down to turn number 1. VeeKay gets a nice run this time, Rob. Hopefully, I imagine what he's hoping is that Oliver Askew might have burned off those tires from all the attempts.
Watching him through 5 and 6, it looks like a little bit of exit oversteer as well for Rinus VeeKay. The rear end kind of stepping out, coming out of turn number 5. But indeed, like I said, once these tires come into where they need to be, it's going to be able to pull away. We'll continue to watch splits. We'll watch fast laps. He just laid the fast lap down, his fast lap down on 104.9. Kellett just laid down a 104.8 and Sowery a 104.9 as well.
Boy, Ryan Norman looks like he has slid off the racetrack, trying to run down Lucas Cole for the final position on the racetrack. And Michael Young, is that in front of you? That car looks like he might have buried it in the grass.
Yes, he did. That's at the exit of turn number 5. He actually ran off the course right there, spun her around. That car sits stalled between turns 5 and the entrances of turn number 6. Ryan Norman now gets that car fired. You can hear it below me as he starts to work his way through the grass and the dirt, and Ryan Norman back on circuit. But boy, that is a costly spin for him early in this race.
Rob, it's been a rough weekend for Ryan Norman all in all.
As he came into turn number 5, he started to lose the rear end on the entry to turn 5. He had to correct it. That put him offline, and being offline, not able to make the apex, dropped the wheel. He went off, and now we have Lucas Cole in the Belardi Auto Racing number 5 having an issue. He's off track at the end of the back straightaway.
Yeah, we're seeing a replay. Lucas Cole was making his way down to turn number 9, carrying a lot of speed, overcorrected, got the right side tires on the curbing, and then boy, just drifted left, lost control, and out into the grass and gravel for Lucas Cole. So problems for our drivers running at the back of the field. Ryan Norman in 8th, Lucas Cole in 7th, and that is going to give a little separation because those drivers in the back of the pack, Rob, quite honestly, were putting together a ferocious battle through the first 6 laps.
And they were indeed. And watching the in-car for Lucas there, it got all wrong going into turn 9. He started to turn in too early. He had to correct it. It's like he could never catch back up again. Through 10, he was in trouble. 11 dropped the wheel, was almost 4 wheels off as well. Not surprising it went around. That corner is, you have to be so precise on the entry. You miss that first corner, you're playing catch up for the rest of the complex.
Yeah, you're just carrying so much speed through that part of the racetrack that, as you're right, if you're a half a step behind, you're going for a ride. Up front, it is Rinus VeeKay, Oliver Askew, Robert McGinnis. That's how they run as they exit turn number 3.
And Rinus VeeKay now with about a 1.5 second advantage over Oliver Askew. Right behind him, equidistance back, is Oliver Askew's teammate Robert McGinnis. Sowery about equal distance back from that. And really the only battles, Dalton Kellett in 5th and David Malukas in 6th, although that about a 6 car length disadvantage for Malukas. VeeKay 8 through 7.
Pretty evenly spaced, as you mentioned, Michael. 1, 2, and 3. VeeKay, Askew, and McGinnis. Sowery is now kind of become a player in this mix. Meanwhile, further back, Dalton Kellett's in 5th. David Malukas trying to reel him in to make a play for 5th here today.
That's a good eye and a good pickup. Dave first is Toby Sowery. Rob, looks like one of the faster cars on the racetrack. He's pulled away from Dalton Kellett and slowly but surely appears to be reeling in Robert McGinnis.
I'm going to keep an eye on the push to pass as well. He has the most of any driver who's not leading. Of course, Rinus VeeKay has all 5 of his push to pass applications still available. 11 for Toby Sowery. He's pretty much the same time as McGinnis last time by. Let's have a look as they come here. A 104.9 for McGinnis. Sowery did not use his push to pass, just picked up 0.2 of a second. He is only 2 seconds back from Robert McGinnis, trying to see if he can't find his way up to the podium.
And Rinus VeeKay just laid down the fastest lap of this event at a minute 4.595, and with that big lap has pushed his advantage up to a very important, Rob, 1.6 seconds. Tell our listeners just why that's such a key number.
Exactly that. 1.5 is the window for the push to pass. And outside of 1.5, the driver behind you cannot use the push to pass. And that's the difference for push to pass between IndyCar and Indy Lights. Indy Lights, it's only used for offensive. You can't use to defend. So if a guy's behind you, you can't be on the button to try to hold him back. You can only use it when you are within 1.5 seconds of the driver in front of you. VeeKay now with those fresh tires. Car starting to really come in for him now. He's outside that window. we're going to see him, I expect him to check away 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap.
Working lap number 8 of 27 here at Portland International. This is the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. Your leader is Rinus VeeKay. Oliver Askew is our points leader. He sits in second, 1.6 seconds behind his Andretti Autosport teammate Robert McGinnis runs in third. Toby Sowery is in the 4th position in that bright yellow car as he is continuing to claw into the advantage for Robert McGinnis. Just off the podium is Sowery. Dalton Kellett runs in 5th. David Malukas is 6th. Lucas Cole runs in 7th. Ryan Norman is 8th. Cole and Norman about a half a lap behind the entire field, although I've been watching them and you know, you have an incident, both of them early in the race, and they're like magnets as they found each other. Looks like Ryan Norman's going to pop to the inside to try to get around Lucas Cole, locks up the rear tires, and he will complete that pass. So Ryan Norman now moves into the 7th position, and assuming he will start to set sail already, exiting that corner has put about 4 car lengths between he and Lucas Cole. So that drops Lucas Cole back to the 8th position. Again, just 3 races remaining after this in this championship, Rob, and while Rinus VeeKay is where he needs to be, he needs more than just race wins to win this championship. Needs some problems for Oliver Askew, and so far not getting it as Askew looks pretty comfortable in second.
And Oliver's going to tell you everything when you're on pit lane, where you're in the paddock. He's going to try to win races, but to be honest, him running P2 right now, getting the points he has such a cushion. He could finish second in every race to the end of the season and still win this championship. You know that they've sat down, the team has gone through all the calculations. They know everywhere he's going to finish, what he has to do. A P2 position here right now would be great for Oliver. He'll still have that point lead by about 45 markers. Again, great for Rinus VeeKay. Get out front, get your name on the podium, get some more exposure. Let the IndyCar team start talking about you winning races. But Oliver Askew's doing what he needs to do.
And VeeKay in 21, Askew in 28. I don't want to call them bitter rivals because they seem to be friendly, but there's a rivalry there, and it's something that you can talk about quite a bit throughout the course of this Road to Indy ladder system. These two have been going head-to-head for race wins, for poles, and now ultimately for championships.
Yeah, they're going back and forth on championships. The very first year, it was unbelievable consistency for Rinus VeeKay, but he just didn't get the same amount of wins as Oliver Askew was able to get. Oliver comes through as the champion in USF 2000. In 2017, that next year, of course, Rinus signing up with Juncos Racing. Oliver Askew stayed with Cape Motorsports. They were a little bit off. It wasn't until this race here in Portland where Oliver Askew was able to win as VeeKay marched with all the victories to the championship. Again, here we are, 2019. Oliver repaying the favor. I'm sure that Rinus will be more than happy to win the next championship in the ladder, right?
Yeah, battling for championships, battling for wins, and Michael Young, they're battling for poles too. You were in the booth with me this morning when we saw an incredible battle between those two in the championship, looking for that pole position. As we see, David Malukas has gotten off the racetrack and rejoins the action. But Michael, let's talk a little bit about qualifying for race number 2 tomorrow. The slimmest of margins separating VeeKay and Askew.
We looked at the monitor, and I was shocked at how quickly you rattled off 1/10,000th of a second. I had to go down the decimal point. Okay, tenths, 100th, 1,000th. It is one of those things I can say with all sincerity I've never seen in my life. A 1/10,000th disadvantage from pole to outside of row number 1. And the number, when we threw it down to the drivers, I don't even think had an impact on them, because I don't even think they realized until you see those decimal points moving everything over. It is the slimmest of margins. You can't even blink of it. I think 2/10 of a second. Our very own Steve Wittig over at Trackside Online told us you couldn't even tell that on a race course if they were running side by side. It was that close.
Yeah, we all took turns holding up our fingers and our thumb and our finger apart and said, well, that's an inch. Now take 2/10 of that. That's the gap between a pole position and starting the outside of the front row. And to Michael's point, it could have been a full 7 seconds. Oliver Askew wasn't happy about qualifying second to Rinus VeeKay.
Yeah, when we were down there on pit lane, of course, I was talking to Rinus VeeKay. Dan Rosanowski was talking to Oliver, and you could hear it in Oliver's voice. He was having none of it.
Of course, yeah.
Not happy at all, even though it's even a front row starting spot is amazing. And that's the competitive fire between these two drivers. Oliver's set up to win the championship, but he doesn't even want to lose a pole position.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want out of your competitors. Yeah, this championship, buying something crazy happening, is still going to probably go to Oliver Askew. He doesn't want to finish second for the rest of the season and nurse home a championship. He wants to dominate And it's that type of drive which I think is really going to serve him well in the NTT IndyCar Series, and we look forward to seeing him attempt an Indianapolis 500 start next year. What team that'll be, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting few months, but VK and Askew just so very, very talented, and we hope this rivalry continues for many, many years at American Open Wheel Racing's highest level. We are working lap number 13 here at Portland International Raceway. 22 laps to go. Your leader is Rinus VK. Oliver Askew sits in second. He is now 2.2 seconds behind, so VK is really starting to stretch out that advantage. Robert McGinnis is in third. He's 2.6 seconds behind Oliver Askew. Toby Sowery is fourth, a good 2.4 seconds behind McGinnis. So up front, Rob, kind of got similar gaps from first all the way back to fourth, right at around 2 seconds.
And the one thing we talked about, the fact that Toby Sowery still at 11 push to passes, he's not within push to pass range right now, so it doesn't even matter that he has 11. He's about 2.4, 2.5 seconds back now from Robert McGinnis, so he can't use it to close up. And McGinnis isn't close enough to use it to even get to Oliver Askew as well. So right now we're settled in unless we see a full course yellow. I think we're just going to see Rinus VK continue to put down these great laps. That was the call to keep those tires. You know, that was key.
And it is a similar gap for Dalton Kellett in fifth behind Sowery at 2.2 seconds. So the front five all just gapped by right a little over 2 seconds. David Malukas, after his little off-track excursion, it looks like he just missed a corner and ran through the grass, lost a ton of time. He's now a good 17.5 seconds off of the lead in car 79, so he runs in sixth. Then it's Ryan Norman in seventh, Lucas Cole in eighth. Both of those drivers desperately need a caution to bunch back up, and this is a racetrack that you don't often see a lot of cautions, but ultimately, Rob, I mean, yeah, the gaps are right at 2 to 3 seconds, but with these drivers on edge, whether it be through the festival corners or the last couple corners, 9, 10, 11, and 12, it doesn't take much to make a mistake, throw away a couple seconds, and as we see in the top 5, if you do that, you're going to have a competitor all over your rear wing.
We've had 3 drivers make minor mistakes. I saw Toby Sowery have a big old handful coming into one of the corners in turn number 5 as well, as he started to turn in to get down to the apex, and the car just started to step out on him again. I'm surprised to see a lot of oversteer actually coming through turn number 5, drivers trying to get back to power and get that car turned into the corner. And like you said, one minor mistake. It's pretty warm outside. It's fairly humid. We're seeing the cars kind of move around a little bit. And this track, it requires finesse. It requires absolutely pinpoint placement of the car, especially through turns 9, 10, and 11. One little mistake, turn in early like we saw with Lucas Cole, and you're going to change your position on the racetrack.
You know, one thing I really like about this racetrack, and it feels like major open wheel series, whether it be IndyCar or Formula One, a lot of they're getting away from this type of trends, but this racetrack, there's grass right up next along the racetrack. Does it make it dangerous? Sure, it's dangerous at these speeds, but it's also so unforgiving that if you do make a mistake, you're going to pay for it. There's not a ton of tarmac and racetrack to the outside of these corners, with some exceptions. Obviously, if you make a mistake in turn 1 of the festival corners, you can salvage it if you stay to the left, but once you clear turns 1, 2, and 3, there's a lot of grass on either side of the racetrack.
And it changes the risk-reward equation. That's
100%.
it. You know, when you're on a track, like you said, when outside of the curb, you've got nothing but pavement, and you may get a track limits warning because if you push too hard, you go off track. Here, it's a lot different. You go off track, you slide through the grass, you may end up being able to control it into the tire mirrors, whatever it may be. I like the risk-reward where if you're rolling it and really kind of hanging it out there, you could find yourself in some trouble. And that's what I love about 9, 10, 11. It's what I love about the Shelton curve here, the festival curves in turn 1 and 2. You make a minor mistake and you overcook it, especially here in 1. You overcook it, you got to go through the little, the shortcut to get through. You're losing time.
And we've watched drivers throughout the course of practice going through that little chicane with the barriers. You have to woe those cars down to under 5 miles an hour just to navigate that part of the racetrack. So it is a massive penalty if you miss turns 1 and 2, despite there not being a lot of grass. It is Rinus VK leading this race, Rob Howden, as we have reached the halfway point.
We're getting a chance to see the in-car here for Lucas Cole. It's illustrating exactly what we're talking about. He's got so much wheel in, comes back out. He's counter-steering and correcting because the car's losing the back. He's bringing it back in again. So much steering input. Lucas Cole's car is obviously not perfect right now, but he's wheeling it like crazy. Great experience for this young Brazilian, for sure.
Yeah, he's been a fun one to have the onboard camera shot that we've been able to watch this weekend because, as you mentioned, this is a racetrack you really, really have to wrestle these race cars. And young Lucas Cole has done a nice job despite an early incident down in turn number 9. And I wanted to touch on this, turns 9, 10, 11 so fast, and we've seen drivers make mistakes there all weekend. During racing situations, one car gets off track and kicks up some dust, now everybody's got to deal with that as a problem down there if the race stays green.
Indeed, and that's the thing about this racetrack. Like you said, if you go off, you could get some grass back on. It's not the pavement. You've just got to make sure you place the car correctly and that you're on the brakes and you're rolling the right amount of speed through. You got the car placed in the right spot.
So it's Rinus VeeKay over Oliver Askew, still 2.5 seconds. Let's check back in with our turn announcers. Michael, I know things have kind of settled down up front, but visually, what do those gaps look like throughout the top 5?
About what it was. It's been interesting to watch Rinus VeeKay go through this turn number 5 portion. He's been struggling ever so slightly with it. He'll go in shallow one time, come out a little deeper, I guess, experimenting, and then it's Oliver Askew. And Dave First, it's not that noticeable. I think Oliver Askew just kind of settled in, but it looks like he's kind of closing ground ever so slightly.
Yeah, I would agree, although I kind of chuckle when you say that. If that's struggling, I think I would take that. He looks pretty dominant. Askew closing the gap just a little bit. Those two have separated themselves just a tad over the third running Robert McGinnis. Sowery, Kellett, Malukas still running the top 6 here.
Yeah, the stopwatch shows that while most of those drivers were separated by just a couple seconds, the battle for second has grown quite a bit, Rob, as maybe Askew may not necessarily be carving into Rinus VeeKay's lead, as it's still 2.8 seconds, but Askew is certainly pulling away from Robert McGinnis, and we may have a battle for third brewing here in the next couple laps.
Yeah, Toby Sowery's closed up by about a half a second over the last couple of circuits. Rinus VeeKay just laid down the fastest lap, and he's right where you want to be, too. That 2.5 to 3 second advantage. You don't need to win these races by 10 seconds. A second is fine. Over 1.5, you got no push to pass. I can guarantee you they're on the radio. They're telling Rinus exactly where he is, 2.5 plus 2.7 plus 2.8. Maintain that lead, take care of the tires, and bring this car home because we got another race tomorrow as well.
And I'm always amazed with the driver out front who does not have the advantages of using the extra horsepower with the push to pass when the leader is setting fast laps. That's just so impressive to me.
It does play to the entire package they put together. And I mentioned this before when we had the qualifying shows, that any time that Juncos Racing rolls off and they're making those positive changes and everything they do is going in the right direction, they're so tough to beat because they make the right calls. They got Mike Reggio there. They got a great crew. Ernie's there, of course, Yancy Diatalevi. They got some great people on the engineering staff. And when they get it right, they really get it right. They watch their drivers pull away.
So VeeKay leads lap number 19 as we are now working just 15 laps to go. He leads Oliver Askew by 3 seconds. Michael Young, let's take a peek at that battle for third as Toby Sowery just picking up 10th after 10th. He's 1.7 seconds back of Robert McGinnis.
Yeah, Robert now working the midway portion now between turns 4 and 5. He'll just clip those gator strips ever so slightly. Now Robert works turn number 5 and out through turn number 6. Toby Sowery, Dave First, has closed it up 15 car lengths or so, but I think that push to pass will come into play. Toby Sowery, nice exit on turn 7.
Very nice exit off turn 7. McGinnis, not so much, so maybe give a 10th or 2, a little bit more to Toby Sowery that time by. Kellett's in 5th. Malukas still bringing up the rear in 6th in this pack.
And Sowery, Rob Howden, quite frankly, just trying to put the weekend in St. Louis behind him, and this is exactly the way to do it, to try to carve into this lead for McGinnis and maybe find his way on the podium.
Hey, 0.2 of a second a lap. The last 3 laps, he's
That'll get it
closed
done.
up. It is. He's 1.7 seconds back now. He's going to be very close, as Michael had mentioned, to getting into within that push to pass range. He's got 11 applications of push to pass. Good lap there, though, for McGinnis. He goes back to a 1:04.5. Sowery still quicker, but it's still 1.76 seconds. Sowery needs a magic lap to get to within 1.5. Then he can get on that 50 horsepower ad and really get at it.
And Toby Sowery in that bright yellow number 2 is really pushing. Just saw him attack turn number 1, and he was hammering the curbs as he tries to run down Robert McGinnis for the 3rd position. Dalton Kellett runs in 5th. He's kind of lost track of that 4th place running car of Toby Sowery as he slipped to about 3.7 seconds behind it. This is kind of a notable weekend for Dalton Kellett, a guy that has been knocking on the door trying to get that first Indy Lights win, but he's kind of becoming the Indy Lights Iron Man as he's kind of made a home for himself in this series.
Well, it's been amazing to watch Dalton come through the whole road to Indy. He ran, of course, in USF 2000. He ran in the Indy Pro 2000 category as well. and he is going to log his 125th start here this weekend. And again, he's been a stalwart in the program, a couple of pole positions. He's been very, very strong on the ovals, a couple of podiums as well. Would love that first win, but 125 starts in Indy Lights, impressive for Dalton Kelly.
He, of course, drives for Ricardo Juncos, who's got his eye on our race leader, Rinus VeeKay. Dan Rusanowski, Rinus VeeKay continuing to set fast lap after fast lap.
Well, the difference in qualifying, Ricardo Juncos, between your pole sitter and the rest of the field was pretty minuscule. Oliver Askew right there. But you had fresh tires to start the race, and your guy did a really good job in the opening laps in order to manage that, to stay ahead. And now he has a 3-second lead. What are your thoughts on how he's handled that challenge?
Yeah, I think the strategy is set, and still 12 laps to go, so we'll see, still a long race to go. But we were able to be on pole like 1/10,000th of the second, which is crazy, pretty amazing. We only used one set of tires today morning, and that's the little advantage that we have now. So obviously we have better tires than everybody else, but you never know, right? So we'll see, still 12 laps to go, but so far he's doing a good job, and the whole team is doing a good job.
But the challenge of all of it is when you have a good driver like Oliver Askew on your tail, even if it's 3 seconds, you have to manage your car very well. How is he at that?
Yeah, it's difficult because it's always unpredictable. It's very, very hot, and also with the new tires, sometimes it's not the right combination. So we'll see on the very last laps of the race. So the key is now to put a gap that maybe can save us on the very end if the tires goes away. But I think so far the balance is very consistent, and he's driving very good as well. So no errors so far. So we'll see what happens.
Could you give us a quick status report on your IndyCar team?
The IndyCar team is being set for next year. We did the Austin race and the Indy 500. As everybody knows, we barely made it to the race. I think it was also 13,000 of the second or something like that. But it's looking good. I'm optimistic for next year, for sure, Indy 500 again, and maybe more to come. So we're working really hard with my team on the marketing side, on the sponsor side. So hopefully we can have a little bit better year next year.
We're all rooting for you. Good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
Ricardo Juncos.
Yeah, one of the likable guys in the paddock. It's been a great story as that program has kind of risen through the road to Indy from a karting program, and then pulling off quite an upset, making the Indianapolis 500 with Kyle Kaiser. So appreciate that interview with Dan Rusanowski. The battle for third is on. Toby Sowery has carved into that advantage for Robert McGinnis. They're separated by just a couple car lengths, Michael Young, as they leave turn 3.
Last time by, Robert McGinnis let that back end slide out ever so slightly. McGinnis now to the apex of turn number 4, halfway mark into turn number 5. Toby Sowery closes it down to about 3 car lengths. McGinnis with a good exit to turn number 5, but Sowery even better. Now through turn number 6, a 4 car length advantage for McGinnis.
Toby Sowery with 4 podium finishes thus far here in 2019, hoping to pick up number 5. He's about 3 car lengths behind Robert McGinnis. No question about it, though, Nick. He's reeling him in this afternoon.
And Rob, we've just been watching this lap after lap after lap. That yellow car is awful fast as he's got it down to now just 0.6 of a second.
And I'm really keeping an eye on the push to pass as well. As soon as he got to within 1.5, he used 3 of those push to pass applications. He has not used one since, actually just using the pace of the car itself. He's the fastest driver on the racetrack at a 104 flat at one point, a 104.2 this time. The gap now down to less than 0.8 of a second. Now he can start going to work. Again, still with 8 push to passes, and we still have 10 laps to go.
Michael, it may be a little cliche, but the old adage of it is one thing to catch a guy, another thing to pass him. We're going to find out what Toby Sowery has with 10 to go.
Yeah, that's the thing with Robert McGinnis. Really lets that car drift out at the exit of turn number 4. It's about the same distance last time. Both drivers getting through turn number 5. Well, now exiting turn number 6. I don't know, Dave, first. It looks about still 4 car lengths.
Much better entrance that time for Sowery versus McGinnis. He made up a little more ground, so let's call it 3 car lengths. McGinnis back to Toby Sowery in this battle for third.
And Rab, let's talk about the best passing points on this racetrack. They are approaching one now, turn 9 down that long back straightaway. That's an awful fast part. Ultimately, in a perfect world, you're wanting to set a guy up into turn 1, right?
That's the absolute place to pass. Because 9, 10, 11 are so tough, you can get out of there a little bit better. You know you've closed up a little bit. You grab one of the push to pass. We still have not seen Toby use another one. He still has 8 push to pass. There's 9 laps to go. I think he's trying to do it naturally right now to see if he can't close up a little bit, maybe force Robert into a mistake before you start working away with the last 8 pushes that he has.
Just saw Toby Sowery reach up and rip off a tear-off visor on that helmet as he continues to stalk Robert McGinnis. McGinnis. It is 0.7 of a second here as we have 9 laps to go at Portland International Raceway. This is the first of a doubleheader with just 3 races remaining in this 2019 Indy Lights Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The points leader is Oliver Askew. He sits second on the racetrack, 2.8 seconds behind Rinus VeeKay. Doesn't look like he has much for our race leader, as VeeKay, again, his advantage is 2.8 seconds as he has led every single lap here from Portland with just 9 laps to go. We are watching. Best bat on the racetrack, without a doubt, is for third, as Toby Sowery really wants that final step on the podium. He's trying to run down Robert McGinnis. Those 2 drivers streak their way back out on the front straightaway. McGinnis has done a nice job over the last couple laps of keeping Toby Sowery at bay. Across the line, they'll see just 7 laps, make it 8 laps to go. And it is, again, right around 1 second as Robert McGinnis makes his way through turns 2 and 3. The advantage about 5 car lengths on the track, Michael.
Yeah, and Robert McGinnis just looks like once Sowery started to close in, he just stepped up his game ever so slightly. McGinnis back end wiggles ever so slightly the exit of turn number 4. Now bobbles ever so slightly as he hits those rumble strips in through turn number 6. Robert McGinnis still about 4 car lengths. Really gets a good jump over Toby Sowery.
That gap closes a little bit more as they make the entrance into turn number 7. Now the exit. And you're right, Michael. That gap now about 5 car lengths or so. Robert McGinnis still holding off Toby Sowery for third.
It's a nice run for Robert McGinnis, doing a really good job, Rob. I'm impressed with not cracking under pressure. This is the Robert McGinnis we saw earlier in the season where he went to victory lane.
Oh, most definitely. What we saw him battling with Toby Sowery in Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas. Same thing at Road America. I'm wondering right now, because we haven't seen Sowery use another push to pass yet. He's dropped back. I wonder if he's holding on to them a little bit, because when he did use 3, he closed right up to within 5 seconds. Remember, if he goes by immediately and gets that spot back, then it's McGinnis that gets the push to pass. He's got 8 still as well. I wonder whether Toby Sowery's kind of waiting for the last 4 laps potentially to go to work.
And the advantage for McGinnis that time across the line is 1 second. So Sowery is not in danger of losing McGinnis by any means. If anything, it's the dirty air that's disrupting that number 2 car. But he sits there in the 4th position, as you mentioned, 8 opportunities to use that push to pass, and that's the thing. As soon as you get past Robert McGinnis, he's got every right to use it right back. So we could be headed for a tremendous battle for the final step on the podium here in the last few laps. There are 7 laps to go. Rinus VeeKay leads, staying right at about 3 seconds. It seems like he's kind of establishing that pace, and as you talked about, comfortable right now.
Yeah, that's it. Again, they're on the radio. Every time he comes by, they're calling the gaps. It was 2.7. It's now 3.2 seconds. They'll come across the line again, call it 3.3. So Rinus VeeKay comfortable in that window, and all the drivers will tell you there's a speed you want to run. When you start trying to slow down, that's when you make mistakes. When you're in your groove and you're hitting your mark, there's a pace that you're going to hit. If you're trying to hold back, it just kind of gets you out of your rhythm, and I like what he's doing now. Everything's working perfectly, and again, just trying to get those wins that he needs. Oliver Askew the same way. The funny thing about McGinnis and Sowery, that's not just a battle on the racetrack. That's a battle for 4th in the points right now. And they're actually closing up on Ryan Norman for 3rd.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up, as there's still a lot on the line in this championship. It's a great opportunity for 3 drivers to go for that 3rd place in the points championship, and that means something.
There's money. There's money for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, there is a lot on the line. These teams can use it. The drivers could use it, and there's a lot of pride as well. Just because Oliver Askew and Rinus VeeKay have been somewhat untouchable this season, a lot of pride into being the 3rd place championship guy.
And Toby Sowery back on the button again. He goes down to 7 push to pass, so he's getting to work now with 5 to go. And indeed, an opportunity for Toby Sowery in his rookie season with this newly restructured HMD team. Hey, it'd be nice for them to get a 3rd place in points, to kind of work their way into the new season. I'm here. There's a potential that both Sowery and Malukas are going to be back. We know Malukas will be back, but Sowery could be back with that team as well. And if you have that kind of consistency, the new restructuring, some off-season testing, they could come out as a powerhouse next year.
Michael Young, let's take a look at that battle for 3rd once again.
Yep, and we see Robert McGinnis still about a 4 car length advantage over Toby Sowery. Just before that, Lucas Cole dropped a wheel, kicked up some dirt, and Rinus VeeKay was right there, maybe jumped for a second, but Robert McGinnis now still 4 car lengths, but Toby Sowery still hanging in there, Dave First.
Yeah, Yeah, good call, Michael. That top four might be dealing with Lucas Cole, who is breaking up the rear of this 8-car field. So throw a back marker into all this. Things getting interesting here in Portland.
That's the last thing you want to see if you're a leader. I mean, Lucas Cole, I'm sure he'll do the right thing. We see him coming out of the final corner with about an 8 to 10 car length advantage over Rinus VeeKay. You just want those lap cars to work with you when you've only got 5 laps to go.
You know, the spotters are talking to each other, the team owners are talking to each other, make sure that Lucas will pull to the side. Of course, he's had a couple issues on the racetrack. That's why Rinus has been able to get back around. 3.5 seconds still the gap between first and second. And Sowery still closing up, 0.8 of a second back, but he's only used one other push to pass in the last couple laps. He's still got 7 with 4 to go.
He's been so aggressive, Michael, but just not close enough to show Robert McGinnis a wheel.
He might have done something right there. Looked like he closed her down to about 5 car lengths as Robert McGinnis had about a 7 car length advantage going into 4. They're through 5. Now working turn number 6. If Toby Sowery wants to get around McGinnis, Dave First, he's going to have to get on that push to pass.
Lucas Cole moving to driver's right, allowing Rinus VeeKay and Oliver Askew to pass. So Lucas Cole won't be a factor. Question is, will Toby Sowery, still about 4 car lengths behind Robert McGinnis?
Yep, and they're working their way down the back straightaway. That's one place where it would be an advantage to use that push to pass, but certainly the front stretch is the big spot. As Robert McGinnis, that car looks just absolutely planted, doing a fantastic job of holding off Toby Sowery here as they're going to make their way out of the final corner. It's again the battle for third, and they have just 3 laps to decide it. Up front, it's Rinus VeeKay by 3.5 seconds. Oliver Askew sits in second, but we've been documenting this battle for third. Sowery closes to within a couple car lengths as they make their way out of turn number 3.
Yeah, Robert McGinnis nearly had a whole mirror full of Toby Sowery. Toby down to about 4 car lengths right now, and it looks like he's braking a little bit later than Robert McGinnis into turn number 4. Robert back end wiggling ever so slightly, exit of turn number 5. But Toby Sowery has really closed in this time. Both drivers off the exit of turn number 6. 4 car lengths still for McGinnis.
I tell you what, credit this 19-year-old from New York. Robert McGinnis saw Toby Sowery several laps ago climb into that rear view mirror. He's done a remarkable job just staving him off right now. Still about 4 car lengths as they make the exit through turn 8.
Rob, it's impossible for us to know if this is all Sowery's got or if he's waiting, but regardless, McGinnis is doing a great job of not making a mistake.
He just used another push to pass and close back up. Toby's a veteran driver. That's the thing. He's raced so many different cars. He is most definitely closing up at a turn number 12. He used another push to pass on that last lap, close it to 0.6 of a second. Where is he this time coming by the stripe? Does he get it down to within a half a second? We'll see as they work their way down. Indeed, 0.45, the gap between first and second, and call that visually 2 car lengths, Michael, as they come through turn 2.
Boy, they are nose to tail as they make their way through the exit of turn number 3. McGinnis able to check out to about a 3 car length advantage. Sowery once again breaks a little bit deeper into turn number 4. Both drivers sweep through turn number 5. McGinnis barely touching those gainer strips. Now, Toby Sowery down to 2 car lengths. McGinnis at the advantage at the exit of turn 6.
Under braking, Sowery now closes that maybe to within a car length and a half. He is all over the back of Robert McGinnis. This podium final step. Not done yet, Nick Yeoman.
The only question is how wide can Robert McGinnis make that car here over the last lap and a half. Up front, though, it is Rinus VeeKay who is your leader. He will see the white flag as he'll head towards turn number 1. His advantage over Oliver Askew is 3.4 seconds. They'll make their way through the festival curves, but we are keeping our eye on this battle for third. It has been a fantastic one. Sowery has a nice run down the front straightaway. He'll pop to the inside, not going to be able to do it. Meanwhile, Michael, the leader's clearing you.
St. Petersburg, Road America, the road course in Indianapolis. When this guy makes it count, he makes it count. A beautiful day here for Rinus VeeKay at Portland International Raceway. Back to that third place battle. Toby Sowery down to a car length. Robert McGinnis sweeps to the outside at turn number 5. But Dave First, Sowery is there. Robert McGinnis, a good launch out of turn number 6. That's going to be the battle for third.
A couple of more corners. That's all Toby Sowery has to make up any ground on the New Yorker, Robert McGinnis. About a car length and a half as McGinnis now gets a nice exit through turn 7 now through turn 8.
Those two will race down the back straightaway, but out of the final corner, it is a clutch victory for Rinus VeeKay. The Juncos team will salute him as he streaks across the start-finish line. Rinus VeeKay wins the Cooper Tires Indy Lights Grand Prix of Portland, presented by Allied Building Products. It is Oliver Askew who finishes second. Here's the drag race to the line for third. Toby Sowery pops to the outside, not going to get it done, Rob Howden. Boy, he took a chance, got a great run out of the final corner. Robert McGinnis moved to the inside, and ultimately that was the advantage.
And Toby Sowery with one unused push to pass. I wonder if he's thinking, man, I should have used one maybe on lap with 3 to go. But wow, what a great battle between those two drivers. But give it up for Robert McGinnis, like you said, forced hard over the last 8 laps. Did not even one chink in the armor, not a minor mistake whatsoever. But VK winning by 3.4 seconds. Good for McGinnis to get back on the podium. He's had a couple of rough runs. This will be really good for his confidence. But wow, Rinus VK. When he needed to win, he needed to win. He's got 2 pole positions. He's 3 for 3 so far this weekend at Portland.
Let's go to pit lane and Dan Rusanowski.
Len Pascus, that was quite a battle for the podium position. Give us an idea of how your driver held him off.
Oh, it was awesome. He was faster by himself, but of course he's got push to pass behind him, so we just tried to keep him out of push to pass range. Once he got within range, then it got a little tougher, but Robert did an awesome job, kept him behind him until the last lap. So.
Over the course of this race, this guy has really been one of the great competitors this season. And give us an idea of how he has handled the challenge of being in this series.
He's done a great job. Awesome driver, wonderful to work with. He's with IndyCar on race weekends. He listens in on what they do. He's very professional for his age, for his experience level. He's just a pleasure to work with.
Kudos to you and the team.
I'm sorry?
Great job by your team.
Thank you.
That is Len Pascus.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dan, putting a bow on just a tremendous battle for third. And here's the cool thing, Rob. McGinnis and Sowery, we hope that's a preview of maybe next year's championship, and we see lots of battles between those guys.
Yeah, I throw David Malukas in that hunt for next year as well. You're going to see those two drivers go at it next year, no doubt about it. McGinnis continues to grow as a driver. He's a couple of years younger, 3 years younger than Toby. Rinus VK, though, again, you can't speak enough about what this team's been able to do. The car's obviously working. This guy's ecstatic getting out of the race car. For him to be able to win here, so crucial. Not only because the championship may not be his call. Like, he may not even be able to fight it back. Oliver Askew's where he needs to be to win a championship right now. But for Rinus VK, if you can finish that season off with some race wins, you know, you put that on your resume, guys are still talking about you. That's what you have to do, even though you don't win the championship. Make sure you're still in the discussion.
Yeah, what a fantastic result for Rinus VK as he is popped out of that jumbo car for Juncos Racing as he picks up a win here at Portland International Raceway. And trying to see the points from 52 now down to 45. So again, a lot of ground to make up, but all it's going to take is a couple mistakes over the last 3 races from Oliver Askew. If VK racks up a few more wins, we may have a battle for this championship. But ultimately, Rob, a dominant performance by Rinus.
And I like to see it. I like to see him come out and be challenged like this, because there's no doubt he could have came into this weekend mentally down, knowing that the championship really was realistically out of reach. Man, what do I do? You step up is what you do. You put the car on the pole twice, you try to get a couple of race wins. I love this as a character-building opportunity for Rinus VK, coming off what was a little bit of an easier year last year when he won Indy Pro.
Seeing a lot of hugs and handshakes down there, Dan Rusanowski at pit exit. You're with our race winner.
Rinus VK, what a performance. First of all, starting with the clean tires, brand new fresh set, and then you held off Oliver Askew and got a very nice lead. Give us your thoughts on this victory and what it means to you.
It's great to finally win again after Road America. We've had a bit of a hard time the last few races, but well, it's great to be back again here and on the track where I clinched the championship last year, so in Pro Mazda. So I'm very happy, and I cannot thank the team enough for the great car.
Was one of the keys after you got the tires cured a little bit to be able to get to a position where he couldn't use his push to pass?
That was the goal, of course. I think that's the goal always on a road course or a street course where you can use the push to pass. But no, that was one of the main things, and I did it. And from then on, I just got a comfortable gap and yeah, saved it for the end.
I understand that you took part in a test with an Indy car at this circuit. How much did that help you today?
It helped me quite a bit. Of course, you cannot change much in a car while driving. So the biggest thing you can do is drive differently. And well, to adapt that much, that's what I learned in Indy car. And well, maybe even gave me the win.
There's an old saying, to finish first you must finish, and obviously Oliver's got a big lead in terms of the point standings, but this is a big step forward. How does that play into race 2 and then the final weekend in Laguna Seca?
I think this is very important that this happened today. I'm just making sure he's not champion yet, so I hope tomorrow I can do the same, starting a pole again, and hopefully make it a good one in Laguna Seca.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Rinus VK, the winner in today's race number 1 in Indy Lights.
I really like that sentiment, just making sure that he has to wait as long as possible to win that championship as Rinus VeeKay scores the victory here at Portland International. We let Rob Howden out of the booth a little bit early as he'll head to help with post-race festivities here for the Road to Indy. Here is the final rundown. It is VeeKay picking up the race win. He leads all 35 laps, flag to flag, really not challenged much by Oliver Askew, who finishes second. Askew's points lead stays a healthy one. It decreases from 52 down to 45 with 3 races remaining. Robert McGinnis does a fantastic job holding off Toby Sowery. He finishes third. Sowery has to settle for a 4th place finish. The gap between those two for the final step on the podium, it was 1/10 of a second as they were very nearly side by side across the start-finish line. Dalton Kellett comes home in 5th. David Malukas is 6th. Issues for Ryan Norman and Lucas Cole prevent those drivers from contending as Norman finishes 7th and Lucas Cole finishes 8th.